My name is Dr. Lisa Mansell. I'm a senior lecturer in English and creative writing, and in honour of Banned Book Week, we're going to talk about Howl by Allen Ginsberg, written in 1955, published 1956, and subject to an obscenity trial in 1957. But while it wasn't technically banned, the case found that it was not obscene and of redeeming social importance, and we study it today. It's on one of our modules on our English literature course. It has evoked this idea of controversy, particularly surrounding some of its language. It does use bad language, swear words, but also the themes the poem traverses, explicit description of sexual acts, homosexual acts in particular, drug use. But one of the topics and themes perhaps most controversial and perhaps not so often discussed, it's the idea of mental health and the idea of a normal mind versus a mentally ill mind. So this poem was composed against a backdrop of social conservatism in America following the war, McCarthyism, and a politically very difficult environment, particularly for artists and intellectuals. I think it's titled Howl because it is a literal howl. Part of Ginsberg's ethos for writing was this relationship with voice and breath. So the word howl evokes that relationship. It's about voice. The whole point of his style is to capture the length of that line in the breath. So if you look at Ginsberg's poetry, the lines are very long. So it's almost as though you're reading as much as you can before you're out of breath. It's challenging the capacity of the human body and pushing it to its limit. And in that sense, it's almost like a howl. But yes, it's also a metaphorical howl in that the themes and the topics in the poem are challenging the society. It's still an important poem today because it's contributed so much to our story of poetics and how we compose poems now. It breaks rules, deliberately so. That's not to say that Ginsberg didn't know them. He was a scholar of Blake. He had a very formal education in literature and poetics himself, so he knew these rules very thoroughly before breaking them, but my goodness did he break them. It's been a long time since this poem was written, and it's very easy to think that we've got over things like bad language, references to drugs, sexuality, but I think there are elements of this poem that still shock us today, and we feel it challenges what we feel comfortable about. This poem was up from obscenity on the basis really of just one line. It's a line that's actually still today so sensitive that I can't read it to camera. And that tells us that it's still relevant and it's still potent, uncensored in some way. I saw the best minds of my generation destroyed by madness, starving, hysterical, naked, dragging themselves through the Negro streets at dawn, looking for an angry fix. Angel-headed hipsters burning for the ancient heavenly connection to the starry dynamo in the machinery of night, who poverty and tatters and hollow-eyed and high sat up smoking in the supernatural darkness of cold water flats floating across the tops of cities, contemplating jazz, who bared their brains to heaven under the L and saw Mohammedan angels staggering on tenement roofs illuminated, who passed through universities with radiant, cool eyes, hallucinating Arkansas and Blake-like tragedy among scholars of war, who were expelled from the academies for crazy and publishing obscene odes on the windows of the skull.